Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for the CIL Flexware College Cup Series playoffs coming to you live here tonight from the virtual Darlington Speedway. This place is legendary when it comes to NASCAR racing. So many iconic finishes over the years. So many iconic finishes even here in the CIL. We've had some really phenomenal races here at this about 1.5 mile track shaped like an egg. We'll get into that in a little bit here, but this is such a unique track. Welcome everybody to the CIL Ignition Zone pre-race show. I'll be your host tonight, Alex Gagnon, and alongside me tonight, John Dinkle. John, we are here. 10 drivers fought their way through the regular season. They now find themselves on the precipice of trying to qualify and race for a championship here in a few weeks' time. But it starts here tonight at Darlington, and I don't think they could have gotten any more difficult of a challenge to start the playoffs.
Yeah, Darlington is known as one of those tracks that it's one that's a make or break. You get it right, and it's great, but when you get it wrong, you're gonna total your car. And to start off the playoffs, the tensions are gonna be tight. All these drivers trying to lock themselves into that championship four. It's gonna be one hell of a battle.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we've seen even the CIL races here in the past. There have been some crazy finishes that have happened. I think back to that Season 7 result where Muhammad Alif and Connor Levy duked it out coming off of turn 4. They both went sideways. It was chaotic to say the least. I definitely blew out my microphone trying to cast that one. It was a mess, but it was a lot of fun. But I'm expecting a lot of fun here tonight. I mean, we're just coming off a race at Bristol that, for all of the chaos and all of the cautions and all of the beating and banging, saw a first-time CIL winner in Charles Wembley to lock himself into the Cup Series playoffs here. As one of 10 drivers to do so, he's going to be coming in with a lot of momentum tonight, as are a number of our drivers. You know, coming off of the regular season that it's been, what do you think is going through the mind of these drivers here, knowing that a win will lock them into the championship, but if nothing else, a bad result will sink them in their hopes for a championship here tonight?
Well, I think you kind of nailed it right there. It's binomial in that there's going to be like the people up front, the Matthew Martins, the Daniel Nannies, or Muhammad Alifs, that they're gonna try to go for a win. They're gonna try to put it all on the line and lock themselves in because they know that they have a possibility of doing that. Whereas I think with some of the people who are not so consistent when it comes to being on the front row and getting podiums or wins, I think what's going to be much more crucial for them is trying to bring it home in a consistent position of getting good points, because Matt Morton has had a wonderful season this year, or this season, and he is kind of been doing a lot of good races that I can imagine there might be spots for people to point their way in, and people might want to shoot for the point position rather than locking in on the win.
Yeah, it all really depends on the amount of speed you've got in their car, and then in some cases, there's going to be some alternating strategies out here, I'd imagine, tonight, and sometimes that can either flip a win on its head or take away what could be a sure finish and put you in a tough spot. All sorts of things when it comes to pit strategy, especially here at Darlington, but you were talking about points. Let's take a quick look here at the current points coming into the playoffs tonight. This is how they stand right now. Matthew Morton from Ohio State is your leader in the playoff points here. His 4 wins in the regular season, enough to give him that top spot. Daniel Nanny and R. Muhammad Alif, a couple of Ball State teammates, currently sit second and third, 5 and 9 points back, respectively. Clint Halterman, the lone UNC Charlotte driver in there, 12 points back. Hasn't had that first win of the season yet, but a lot of podiums for the 077. And then you've got a guy who has not won yet this season, and Zach DeWale in the 519. He's come close a couple of times, but just hasn't been able to close one out just yet. Charles Wimbley from Guilford College, who picked up his first CIL victory last week. And then you had Jake Cummings, who won the season opener from Wingate, but that feels like an eternity ago, as it's been all Ohio State and Ball State since. Drew Williams there in 8th for Clemson, a regular feature of the Flexwork College Cup Series playoffs, looking for his first win in the next-gen cars. He did win the championship in the Gen 4 Throwback Series a couple seasons ago. And then you've got Jason Wallet from Drexel and Andrew Stagey from Ball State, both 25 points back. So even though this is just with the playoff points coming in, you can see the spread between guys like Jason Wallet and Andrew Stagey, and then like Matt Morton up top. There's already guys who are like nearly a full race behind the start. So you got to imagine the 76 and the 88 might be in a must-win situation right off the bat there, John.
Sorry, can you say that again?
I was saying you got to imagine the 76 and the 88 of Wallet and Stagey. Sitting 25 points back going into the start of the season here, or the start of the playoffs here. You got to imagine they're already thinking you've got to find a win to lock yourself into the championship, because they're almost a full race of points behind right off the jump.
Yeah, and they're tied, so I can imagine that what's going through their heads is just a position of exactly that, just trying to get that win and try to do that playoff run, because I think for a lot of these drivers, they know there's not going to be that many chances. So especially I think a track like Darlington might have a bit of carnage, a bit of chaos with drivers trying to push it and get as much as they can to prove themselves. And I think definitely they're going to try to be up there and get that locked position to be in the best position they can lock themselves in on for a playoff run to get that championship for.
Yeah, for sure. And then you look at the other side of it, someone like Matthew Morton, who has that full race advantage almost coming into this race. Even if things were to go catastrophically wrong tonight for the number 1 from Ohio State, they would still probably have a pretty decent chance at fighting their way in, given that points advantage they have, although I can't really foresee that too much. I mean, he has been the class of the field much of this season with those 4 victories. But the Ball State guys are hungry. We know Alif especially runs well here. Nanny being a rookie to the CIL. Not sure what he's got at Darlington. I know Alif's got a lot of skill here. Will make a very interesting situation tonight, but also the entire playoff round. A lot of challenging but similar type of tracks here in Darlington, Nashville, and Homestead. All that 1.3 to 1.5 mile style track. All fast, high banked, and very tough to control. So something tells me whoever we see do well here tonight might be some of the cars we see up front over the next 2 weeks as well.
Yeah, and I feel like the current generation of car is really, really good at producing some really close action when it comes to these 1.5 miles, these intermediate type circuits. That definitely is going to make for a feisty battle for who's going to make it into our championship for this season.
You know, feisty is a fun word for, because I think you're absolutely right. Darlington, especially, you know, people historically think of it as a one-lane track, but that's what makes passing so incredible here, is because, you know, you got to make something happen at some point. And people, especially later in these races, will start getting desperate and they'll start making moves that you wouldn't see on lap 2, and it starts getting a little crazy, and you just have to hold on, buckle up, and pray you make it off the corner exit, still facing the correct direction, because sometimes you get down low in the turn 1, and that's all she wrote. But you know, I'm looking at the time here, John. I'm thinking might be time for us to take a look at some pre-race picks, some pre-race predictions here on the Ignition Zone. So I'll give you first pick here, since you weren't in the booth last week. I'll give you the luxury of taking anyone you want off the board. I got lucky last week and I picked the correct winner, trying to go 2 for 2 this week. But you will get the first pick here.
I want to pick a bit of a dark horse, a P10 sitter for our current playoff situation. And that's going to be Andrew Stagey. So,
okay.
From Ball State, number 88. So,
nice. He's been running really well this year.
Yeah, very consistent. So I'm hoping that that's a good pick for tonight. My battle with Lindler has not been going my way so far. So maybe I'll have a bit of a different change of pace with you.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I historically have not kept super well track of who's won and lost between him and I in the races before last week. You see, before that, I don't know. Neither of them won, per se, so I could be losing that battle. I could be winning. Don't know. I am very much a recency bias kind of guy, so I'm riding high after last week's prediction. But looking into this week, looking to Darlington with some of the races that we've had already in the past, and then the way these races have played out this year. You are going with one of the Ball State Cardinals. I was so close to also going with one of the Ball State Cardinals here tonight in our Muhammad Ali. But I think my actual pick tonight is going to be the 30 of Daniel Nanny from Ball State. You know, I have not seen him run Darlington before. However, I've seen the way he's run these 1.5 mile tracks. He's been wicked good. And he's been one of the only cars that have really been up there battling with Alif and Morton all season. And I think it's due time that the 30 makes his way back into victory lane tonight. So a couple of Cardinal picks here, a couple of playoff picks in the pre-race predictions. But there's a lot of cars who are going to be really hungry for that win. We've only had 5 different winners so far this season. What do you think the odds are that we get a 6th here tonight?
I feel like I might be pretty good. So I feel like there's so many like Ball State entries that it's almost like if you're rolling dice, you're gonna land on it.
Yeah, I mean, they always come out with a large group here to compete. And not only do they compete, but they bring a large competitive group. I mean, they're up front, they're running in the lead, they're leading laps. They're just a really strong squad from top to bottom. And, I mean, hence why I think we both went that direction here tonight in our pre-race picks. But I do think it could be fun to get someone who hasn't won yet this season. Like your pick there, Andrew Stagey. I think that would be quite the story, and it would be huge for his season. Be his first potential Championship 4 appearance, should he get it done here tonight, much as you predict.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I finally have my pick win. I don't think I've actually gotten that luck yet. I think the closest I got was a pole position, I think, and that didn't materialize. Morton's just too fast.
Well, hey, you know, that's at least something. I've only had it pan out once, and, you know, we'll see what happens here tonight. But, you know, when you think of Darlington, you think of some of those crazy finishes that we've had, not only in the NASCAR Cup Series, but also in the CIL over the years. What are some of the challenges to this track that you think they're going to face tonight? I mean, obviously, the big one's going to be the strange layout of this track. But do you think anything else is going to play a major factor into giving these guys fits tonight?
I think the constant with Darlington is the inconsistency with the track. It's a bit of an oxymoron, but I'll run with it. It's a very old surface at Darlington. It's very rough, very bumpy. It's not the banking changes as you run across the track so much that what you see sometimes real life, and I think in iRacing as well, is the low entry and you run it up high. And I think the challenge is going to be that there's going to be some drivers that run that different line, and other drivers there's going to be a kind of a crossing of lines, a twisting of the beams. If you like Ghostbusters references. Um, and that's might cause a bit of argy bargy. We see it a little in real life. I think like a pretty recent race where William Byron got like spun out on like the final lap by, was it Logano? And I was
Yeah,
a bit
yeah.
salty because I'm like the one William Byron fan.
You know, I know now 3 of them, which is more than I would have expected to know.
But yeah, Darlington, I think it's mainly going to be the chaos, and it's going to be in a degree, it's going to be a race of attrition. So
Yeah, Darlington always tends to be. The other Byron fans I now know in my life, in addition to a buddy of mine who lives in Pittsburgh, but you also share an affinity for Byron with my lovely girlfriend who likes William Byron for the main reason of he has, quote, the audacity to date one of his competitor's sister, because, you know, he's dating Aaron Blaney. So that's one of the main reasons why she was sold on. I think that's incredible. But, you know, everyone's got their reasons. We've got our reasons for our picks here tonight, and we're going to get to it in just a second. So we're going to take a quick break, folks. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a few minutes with live coverage of the CIL Flexware College Cup Series Southern 200 from Darlington. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Deep in the heart of South Carolina, this egg-shaped track has been here nearly as long as NASCAR itself. This track, by all accounts, one of the most uniquely paved tracks in all of motor racing, has shown some of the best finishes that there have been to see in NASCAR over the past 50 years and in the CIL over the past 10 seasons. Welcome everybody to the first race of the CIL Flexware College Cup Series playoffs. It's the Southern 200 from Darlington Raceway. Welcome in, welcome in. Should be a fun one tonight. I will be your host tonight, Alex Gagnon. Alongside me in the booth, it'll be John Dinkle. And John, as we talked a little bit about in the pre-race show, we should have a lot of fun here tonight. I feel like this will be a challenging test for the drivers, but a rewarding one for those who have the skill to tame the beast.
Yeah, it's a very tricky track. A lot of nuances these drivers are going to have to master and make advantage of as they try to be the first driver locked in to the final four, do their shot at the CIL Flexware College Cup Series playoffs and get themselves a championship.
Yeah, and this is the place to do it. So this is Darlington Raceway, and I'll ask producer Christian if he can cue up what our track looks like here tonight, get you the nice overhead shot. The Google Earth cam bringing us down to Darlington. And you can see from up here, one side of this track significantly more narrow than the other. That start-finish line up on the top of your screen. You can make your way down toward the left side of it, up toward turns 1 and 2, which are significantly wider than when you go down the backstretch into turn 3 and 4. It makes setting up for this track really difficult because you might have a car that is perfectly attuned through 1 and 2, and then you get to 3 and 4 and it's just way too tight. You might try and set up for 3 and 4 and then you're super loose through the opening 2 corners. It is a real challenge to get a good handling race car here, and that's part of why it's so compelling to watch, because everyone feels like they're on a knife edge trying to drive around this track at up to 170 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's not a forgiving one. There's going to be a lot of mistakes made, I feel. 1.36 miles long, variable banking from about 2 degrees to 25 degrees in the corners, 55 mile per hour pit road speed, 72 kilometers if you're one of those people. We first seen this track in season 6 of the CIL Darlington, and it's one of the classics. I feel it's always a treat to get the Darlington on the schedule.
It really is. It's put on some of the best racing in the CIL since we came here a few seasons ago. And to your point about the banking, particularly 2 degrees to 25 degrees is a particularly challenging blend when you consider that if you're coming off the high side of turns 1 and 2, which is the optimal way around that track for most cars and most drivers, that car will then flatten out so much off the corner that someone who's not careful with their throttle control can very easily lose the back end of these cars with how much power they have in the rear of the car. That thing can just lose the back end and spin out on you immediately. And speaking of the car here, as always, it is our Toyota Camry, Chevy Camaro, and Ford Mustang. The 670 horsepower engines, really good down the long straightaways of Darlington. You have to be real feather light, though, getting through the corners here, because just overdoing it a little bit, and you're going to end up backing into the wall and get that Darlington stripe.
Yeah, and the transitions, they're not those smooth transitions we see at some other tracks. It's acute. It's an angle is how I'd measure it. It's just a nice little cusp right there that is gonna spin you around if you're not ready for it. So these heavy 3.4 thousand pound stock cars are gonna be kind of unwieldy as they come around this circuit. And it's going to definitely be a handful for many of these drivers, as I've seen in the cameras I have on the side of my screen. A lot of drivers having to do some very funky, some very lively handwork to keep their cars under them.
And I think that's something that's just going to persist as the day goes on, especially as those tires start to wear down. You know, you get into a rhythm for a little bit, and then things are just going to completely fall apart once those tires start wearing down, because you start trying to get a little too anxious out of the corner. You have to wait, you have to wait, you have to wait. When you finally can go, you just want to slam it, and then you're going to lose the back end of it. So it's going to be a challenge for sure. I do believe we have the opportunity to take a look here at a qualifying lap in just a minute. So we will bring that to you when it's ready. It's fun to watch a qualifying lap around here because it's such a unique track to drive, as we've been alluding to here. Only a few minutes away from this race here at Darlington Raceway. I mean, 10 drivers have fought their way through the 12 weeks of the regular season to qualify, even to get to this point, to still be eligible for a championship. You have guys who have won multiple races, like Matt Morton from Ohio State, or Daniel Nanny and R. Muhammad Alif from Ball State. A couple guys who only have won one, like Charles Wimbley or Jake Cummings. And then 5 guys who haven't won a race yet this year, but have just been consistent enough to put themselves in contention. And now everything starts anew, basically. Everything's grouped back within 25 points, and you have 3 races to prove you belong.
Yeah, no, this is like it's a restart effectively for many of these drivers. You get that chance to lock yourself in, but it's like a restart where all these drivers are kind of brought within each other and can really fight to bring themselves into the final 4 and give it their all to try to get that championship opportunity, really. And I know all these drivers are gonna put their cars on the line, put their egos on the line, to just even get themselves a chance to lock themselves in.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big one, because you're going to see a lot of cars making mistakes you might not see them make at a lot of other tracks, just because of how difficult Darlington is. And a few egos probably will be bruised here tonight. They're going to be like, oh, I'm going to come in and I'm going to crush it. And then Darlington might reach out and grab them. But let's take a look here at what a qualifying lap looks like at Darlington Raceway. It's a real spectacle to watch, if you ask me.
Yeah, fabulous circuit here. Matthew Nordberg, we're going to see as he cross out of turn number 4 here to start his first qualifying lap that we're going to look at here. You can see one of the staple lines on Darlington is that low entry that washes up high, using a bit of aerodynamics, using a bit of air to keep yourself turning as you travel around the track. Back straight now. Hugging the wall to open up the entry. A bit higher on the entry, though, on the turns 3 and 4. As you pointed out, they're the much narrower turns. But you wash up right up to the wall to get as wide a line as you can. There's his first lap done. Well held from Nordberg there for his second qualifying lap. They get multiple back-to-back, and they get the chance to improve if they feel their first wasn't as good, and he's going to make the best opportunity of it. Washing down low to straighten up the entry or the exit out of turn number 4 to finalize their second qualifying lap. And if I can get Sir Christian to help me out with where Nordberg managed to qualify there.
I can hear the Google Chrome loading symbol going through the head of our producer at the moment.
Well, no,
we'll have the grid for you in just a second, so we'll find out. But yeah, no, obviously there's so many things going behind the scenes right now. That was probably something that's a little down the docket, if you will. But we'll have the grid in just a second here. Qualifying wraps up in about a minute here, folks, and then they'll take to the grid for the start of this race. Should be an absolute blast. As we mentioned in the pre-race show, both of us projecting some Ball State drivers to win here tonight. You have Andrew Stagey, I've got Daniel Nanny. Let's see how they fared in qualifying, and let's see how the rest of our field fared in qualifying as we take a look at tonight's starting grid for the Southern 200. And up front, a couple of Ball State teammates. Daniel Nanny on pole, R. Muhammad Alif rolling off to his outside. Those two Cardinals got it locked in here to start. Row 2, you've got Matthew Morton from Ohio State and Drew Williams from Clemson University, 4 playoff drivers making up the front 2 rows. Clint Halterman and Zach DeWale will add to that rhythm, 6 straight playoff drivers in the front 3 rows for UNC Charlotte and St. Clair College. Andrew Stakey and Charles Wimbley, a couple more of our playoff drivers. They're showing out here at Darlington right now. The 88 and the 37 rolling off 7th and 8th. And in row 5, it is Brandon Schulenberger and Matt Nordberg, the first 2 guys who are not actively in the playoffs to qualify on the grid here in 9th and 10th.
Starting on the inside of row number 6, we have Jake Cummings from Wingate University alongside Jason Malott, another playoff driver from Drexel University. Then Landon Velicki from Auburn University in row 7 will be starting alongside Edwin Onufre from University of North Texas. Kelton Quick, another one of our Ball State University machines, starts on the inside of Andrew Burrell from Clemson. Row 9, Drexel's Timothy Wilms will be starting alongside Pennsylvania College of Technology's Austin DeLong. Row 10, inside, going to be Nick Stockner representing Clemson alongside Sky Sharek from University of Oklahoma.
Back there in row 11, 21st, it'll be Lucas Moody from Ball State University and Logan Smith from Auburn rolling off 22nd. And rounding out our field here tonight, it'll be Zachary Tallman from the Pennsylvania College of Technology. So 23 cars entering tonight's Southern 500. As we inch ever so closer to finals and those final projects, and once we hit the playoffs, sometimes the field starts to thin out a little bit once the academics become a priority for a lot of our student drivers here, but still a good field on hand here tonight. And with only 23 cars, a potential opportunity to spread out a little bit more on track. Let's take a look now at our race analysis that we are projecting here tonight. As you can see, sponsored by Flowtech TV. 150 laps, 200 miles here tonight at Darlington. Pit speed, 45 miles an hour, as John alluded to earlier. 4 sets of tires will be available to these drivers tonight. They will do 4 max attempts at a green-white checkered finish should they need to go into CIL overtime. And the estimated fuel window, about 60 to 70 laps here. We're projecting a 2-stop race if this goes green.
Yeah, and we're about to get started here. Southern 200 at Darlington Raceway is about to get going. Many of our playoff drivers starting up front as the pace car driver dips into pit road, and we're about to start here. Fred, thank you for leading us.
Here we
off.
go. Green flag is in the air. The Ball State drivers will hit the gas pedal, and away we go from Darlington. The CIL playoffs are underway here from Darlington. And here we go. Everyone's starting to settle in here at Darlington. Our playoff drivers here tonight, you will see their cars adorned with the gold nameplates and the gold tail fins there. The gold banners will be what you are looking for. Our student drivers who are not in the playoffs will have the blue banners, and our alumni drivers not in the playoffs will have the red. But those up front with the gold, those are the cars in contention for the playoffs here. As you see Charles Wimbley making a dive to the inside of DeWale here on the front stretch. Slides up in front of the 519, and he'll move up into the top 5 here in the early going. But up front, Daniel Nanny and R. Muhammad Ali. A couple of Ball State drivers have control up front. Just behind them, it's Matt Morton and Drew Williams with a freight train of cars behind them.
Charles Wimbley doing a very measured move to get past Zachary DeWell there. Zachary was trying to make a move on Williams in the 123 Clemson car, but I think he just got lost out a little bit on the exit. and Wembley was able to do a very opportunistic move to capitalize and get himself into the 5th position there in his Guildford College Camry.
Yeah, you see him there in that number 37 machine. Last week's winner at Bristol, taking a lot of momentum here into the playoffs. Looking pretty strong in the early going. Everything really has fanned out pretty quickly here. Everyone finding their place in line. Darlington, an incredibly tough place to run too wide for very long. So not surprised that we've seen things open up a little bit here. But Zach DeWale knocking on that rear bumper again of the 37. He's within a car length, and they shoot up toward the back bumper of the 123. Everything closing up a little bit like the accordion. Just behind them, you also see that yellow car, the throwback machine for Clinton Halterman in the 077. He's got a mirror full right now of Matt Nordberg, the 076 from NC State. Yeah, the Wolfpack there trying to make some moves on Halterman, as you see now DeWale onto the back bumper of Wembley.
Yeah, just looking at the lines that many of these drivers are running right now, a lot of them running a very similar line, kind of running up high, single file, you can see, which I kind of just think at the start of a 150 lap race, we're not even 10% of the way through here, or about 10% of the way through here. A lot of these drivers just want to play it safe here, get close to the end, and then they can start trying to make moves here, especially these playoff drivers. They don't want to take their chances away from themselves too early in the race for nothing. And it's just playing it safe, playing it reasonable, and taking notes while you watch your fellow competitors, your fellow playoff drivers, and see where they might be weak and take advantage later in the race.
Yeah, everything right now in that the feeling out stage, figuring out what your car can and can't do. As we jump a little farther back in the field, hopefully, the 76 of Jason Wallet battling for 10th place right now. He is in a good scrap with the 100 of Jake Cummings. Or we'll stay on board here with the 077 of Clinton Halterman, who's there you see a little farther on back. So there is Jake Cummings and Jason Watt. Wallet had the position for a second, but the 100 of Cummings will jump back around the 76, moving up into the 10th position here. He's got his teammate Brandon Schulenberger sandwiching the 76 right now, but right now that 100 machine, you know he'd like to get back to victory lane. He won the season opener at Auto Club, has been winless since, so it's been a bit of a drought here for that 100 machine. Sure is looking for a good run here to try and make that championship 4, as this battle for 9th, 10th, and 11th starting to get really congested as they go through 1 and 2.
Yeah, you just look right in that mirror and you just see that front bumper staring right down behind you, almost like you're at Daytona and you're giving a nice little bump draft to the guy in front of you. But at a track like Darlington, where dirty air is a massive consideration, I think we kind of saw that there from the 100 of Cummings. Just a little bit of a checkup on that back straight as they enter turn number 3, because it can kind of require you to check up because of the dirty air, which is when the air that the car in front of you is pushing around you leaves that low pressure zone behind, and you don't have as much downforce and you have to slow down because you just don't have as much grip on the track. And I think that's a massive consideration for a lot of these drivers, as we see on the screen right now. 100 of the Cummings picking a bit of a different line, having half of his car peaking down below that of Stagey.
And Stagey's going to try and throw the block on him there.
And actually side by side entering one here. There's a bit of contact from
contact.
Cummings. Both of these drivers locked in the playoff run right now, and they're trying to get as much of a move as Stagey cuts down on Cummings. And you can see he's not letting that aerodynamic trick, that aerodynamic strategy be played out by Cummings right here by trying to rob that line, which is a very well played by Stagey, but could definitely, if not played well, end out in disaster if there's a misjudged block here. So definitely got to keep an eye on this, and he got to keep his wits on him, or else he'll end up in the barrier, as he just happened right there.
The 88 clips the wall off of turn 2. Andrew Stagey's going to lose out there big time. Luckily for him, everyone kind of got bottlenecked behind him, so you can see the 7 of Schulenberger and the 199 of Onofre on his back bumper right now. That battle was going on for a couple of laps with Cummings, but now we'll fall back a little bit farther I'm also looking at the timing tower. Jason Wallet scored 21st right now. That Drexel machine was just up there a minute ago. Not sure what happened to him, but looks like early trouble potentially for one of our playoff or two of our playoff drivers, as the 88 clipped the wall, and the 76 may have done the same, as he is way back there now.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what happened there either. I don't know if it missed our screen, but yeah, he was right up there, and all of a sudden he's now just sunk like a stone in a lake. So definitely, it's a common term at Darlington. We call it the Darlington stripe, where you get that you run against the wall a little bit, and it's a common occurrence here, just when you misjudge a corner or have a bit of contact with the competitor, and you get a little bit of contact with the wall, and you can see on the wall sometimes with the weathered away decals that iRacing has faithfully reproduced in the simulator, but these drivers are trying to have their wits about them and not create their own.
Yeah, you see this top group here has started to pull away a little bit after that checkup from the 88. There's a gap of about 0.7 of a second from Cummings on up through the front part of the field. A lot of everyone up in this top groove right now. Not necessarily battling, I would say, but they're putting a little bit of pressure on each other just to consistently figure out who's running where is everyone's car good at, and how much can you push the pace in the early going without putting yourself in trouble, while just starting to feeling out your competitors a little bit. As you saw Wimbley going into turn 1, put a little bit of pressure on Morton down low. He'll back off a little bit going through 1 and 2, and now he's under pressure from the 519 of DeWale. DeWale right on his back bumper here off of 2. Will he try to make a move in the turn 1? I don't think he's going to have the run that he needs, so he'll settle in here behind the 37. The 077 of Halterman just behind him. This early going is speeding along. 18 laps gone of this 150-lap race. So far, everyone getting comfortable and in a rhythm in the early going, which at Darlington is easier said than done. So good start for a lot of these guys. 22 of the cars still on track. It appears the 22 of Austin DeLong already off track here, but still a lot of cars on track, and most of them here haven't collected a Darlington stripe yet, although we have seen a couple who have clipped that outside wall of turn 2. With how wide it is, the exit of turn 2 really jumps up on you in a hurry.
Yeah, I think it's always a consideration. Still bug always sitting in your mind, and you just gotta ignore it. You gotta stay confident. You gotta stay trusting in the tires and the suspension, the engine, in the aerodynamics. That where you want to go is where your car's gonna let you go. And all you can really do is give it a suggestion that sometimes when you're mid corner here, all you can really do is nudge it where you want it to go, and hope that the aerodynamics don't say otherwise. But with how clean these drivers have been going here, I have to wonder what they're considering for the strategy here. I think there was a thought in my mind, at least, that would be a bit of a unpredictability in how the strategy would have to go out, but mainly that when do you want to pit? I think with how we're going so far, I don't want to jinx it, but the pit entry.
It, I think the 076 just clipped the wall a little bit there off of turn 2. No caution there. He kept the car forward, but he will lose a position to the 100 of Jake Cummings. So far, that Wingate machine has been very opportunistic. Car hits the wall off of 2, he'll take the position. And that's how he's gained all of his track position so far, at least since we've been watching him.
Yeah, I think he's running a proprietary spotter package, DJ Khaled, just another one.
Another one indeed. As he makes his way up into the 8th position. Teammate there, Brandon Schulenberger, running 10th. Solid start here for the Wingate boys, running 8th and 10th right now, both cars in the top 10. Although they can't hold a candle to the Ball State machines right now, who are currently running 1st and 2nd. Daniel Nanny. We have not seen him too much tonight, but he is the leader of this race. He's led all 23 laps so far. And that number 30 machine has run really well so far. He's got a half a second gap over his teammate in Ar Muhammad Alif. As you see, someone really slow there through 3 and 4. It's the 43 of Sky Shrek. Kind of took that inside line through 3 and 4. A lot of cars going around now to try and get around the 43, who definitely has some right side damage. That Oklahoma machine definitely got the Darlington stripe somewhere. And now everyone
Yeah.
making their way on around, that 43 will go a lap down.
Yeah, you can see a bit of traded paint, a bit of scuffed paint on that front right there, and I think on the right side as a whole. But now I guess we'll see this as a case study in how to enter pit lane, I believe, as this is why I was going to start a nudge before I think we kind of strayed away. No, we're actually going to stay on track. But what I was going to mention was I think when you're doing these green flag pit stops at these unpredictable, these non-conformist circuits, Darlington is one of them, I think Richmond is another one that I would pick out as an example where the pit lane is unique. You have to keep considering how you're going to enter pit road, how you're going to exit pit road, how you're going to travel through pit road. And I think Darlington is one of the best examples of the tricky pit roads. I've said that word like 5 times in this sentence. But
no, but you make a really good point. I mean, even on pit road, this is not a track where you can just turn your brain off. Every part of this track, whether you're racing the line, going down pit road, you need to be aware of what you're doing at all points in time, because it will make you pay if you don't. As you see, we're on board here on the left side of your screen. That is the 519 of Zach DeWale is on board, as well as the 077 of Clint Halterman on the right side of the screen. Those two guys currently running in the top 10, 6th and 7th as they run. See a little bit of onboard action between the two as well. What it's like to be the pursuer or the pursuee.
Yeah, like on the right side, we can see that wheel. I think I talked about it for a brief moment in our warm-up for this race. You can kind of see there's a bit of a oscillation as the coming off the corner to make sure that they stayed pointing the right direction. But any amount of oversteer and overzealousness with throttle will lead into a need for some very fast handwork to keep that car under you. And these drivers are keeping it pretty controlled right now as they continue on the track in very good positions. Currently finishing lap number 28 here, and they're doing pretty comfortably.
Yeah, and I want to take a look slightly farther ahead here in place. The number 1, Matt Morton from Ohio State. He has gotten around the 123 of Drew Williams and now has moved up into 3rd and is ever so slowly reeling in Armaham. They continue to fall back from the 30 of Daniel Nanny, but the playoff points leader here, that number 1 machine, slowly but surely making his way to the front, and he's taken the 37 of Charles Wimbley with him. That 37 machine also just got around the 123 of Williams, and the Guilford College machine now up into the top 4 as well. A couple of cars here starting to pick off drivers who may have burned up some of their stuff early on. Is that 123 of Drew Williams falling back a little bit here. He was 3rd a few laps ago, and now on lap 30, he'll fall back to 5th.
Yeah, and I think now that, especially up front, this field is spread out a bunch. If we look at both Morton and Alif here, we can see some divergence in how these drivers are taking these corners here, which I think is a huge component in how these drivers can tackle one of the least understood or least masterable tracks on the real-life NASCAR schedule or on the iRacing roster. So for instance, here we can see Alif keeps running it very high there, whereas Morton is about a lane down, and then Alif will kind of cut across on the exit to straighten it out on the exit and get a better throttle application, whereas Morton seems to kind of doesn't do so much, and it's a shorter line, but it's not so square that it gets an exit as good. So I think it's just both are both are applicable, both are viable, and it's just going to be we're just going to have to wait for time to tell if Alif's strategy or if Morton's strategy are going to be beneficial in the long run.
Yeah, you see the onboard here with Muhammad Alif, what he's seeing out the front of that car right now. You can still see the back bumper of Daniel Nanny. He's only about a second now, but every lap he seems to fall just a little bit farther back from his teammate here in this opening stage. Might need to adjust something on pit road here when they make their way down eventually to see if he can find a little bit more speed. But jumping back a little farther in the field, we've got a good battle brewing outside of the top 10. The 62 of Landon Veliky and the 13 of Lucas Moody have been trading places here for 13th the past couple laps. Moody has just got around Veliky a moment ago and now is through the field. And if I remember correctly, that 13's been on a bit of a mission here. We have onboard cameras of both of these guys as well. That is Lucas Moody on the left side of your screen, Landon Velicki on the right side there for Auburn. Both of these guys slowly but surely working their way back toward the top 10.
But these guys need different camera placements. I can't see the wheels.
Got to see how active they are. It looks like, at least just from the arm movement for Moody, that he is giving it a good bit of wheel there through 3 and 4. But that is all speculatory at this point, because much to your point, we can't actually see what the wheel is doing. It's all based off of the arm movement for that assumption.
Yeah, but just looking at what we can see, we can just see how locked in these drivers are on trying to run very consistent lines here. Slow blinking rates and locked in on those monitors. Not even a word said, I don't think, from either of these drivers to their spotters or to their competitors while we kind of sit tight.
It's a pretty big battle going on just behind them as well. Velicki's teammate, Logan Smith, sandwiched back there between Nick Stockner and Timothy Wilms. All three of these guys bouncing around 15th, 16th, 17th. Now look just up there. You see Stockner under pressure from the 34 of Smith, who might look to try and roll the outside here off of turn 4. So here they go through turns 1 and 2. Stockner, Smith, Wilms, and then you've got Edwin Onofre back there, who was a little higher up earlier on. He may have found some trouble somewhere on track, but so far 38 laps complete from Darlington. It's been smooth sailing for a lot of these drivers, as now Smith maybe looks to make a move to the inside off of turn 4. A big dive to the inside, and he's alongside the 124 as they go in the 1. Oh, and the 124 hard into the wall. Smith will take the position. Stockner definitely hammered that outside wall. Wilms looks to take advantage now going down the backstretch. That 124, lucky to be still facing the right direction. I mean, he hammered that outside wall through 1 and 2. Got to imagine that'll affect the handling of that car a little bit as well, especially on older tires.
Still under green though, so it looks like he's still just continuing pretty good. Edwin Onofre though sniffing right behind him, so he's not in the clear just yet to continue running clean lines after the incident.
He's also got Tim Wilms just behind them as well, so the 124 trying to hold on to some very needed track position right now. We'll see if he can hold on here against Onofre, who's closing up to the back bumper here. That UNT 199 makes himself big in the rearview mirror, as you can see off the back bumper of the 124 just how close Onofre is getting. On board here with Stockner as Onofre looks to the inside. Got a nose in there to turn 3. He's going to have to bail out for just a second, though. Now through the middle of the corner, still has that nose there. Tough situation for both drivers. They get out of there cleanly. And Onofre looks like he'll take the position and has to immediately cut up to avoid making contact with the lap car of Zach Tallman.
Yeah, I feel like you could see on his expression there, Stockner getting passed by Onofre there, and he was not kind of happy, as I think he just hit the wall again there on the exit of turn 2, but a bit of a grimace, I think, on his face, if I saw that correctly, of just some frustration, I think, after having an incident, and now is a bit down on pace, as it looks like now he's going to lose another position, or he's going to have to defend another position from what looks like the 86 car, and that was pretty close there. Could have nearly been another incident with, it could have even taken out Andrew Burrell from Clemson. Is a third car in this 3-car train as they enter turn number 3 here, so.
And here's the battle for second. Matt Morton has caught Muhammad Alif up at the front of the field here. They still sit 1.5 seconds behind Nanny, but right now through 3 and 4, the battle for second is on. These two cars have 6 wins so far this season. Muhammad Alif's got 2, Morton with 4, and now they battle it out for second here in the turn 1. Leaf has not really been challenged for position all race. Morton has been slowly but surely working his way through the field, has rallied to catch the back bumper of the 12. But catching a car is one thing, passing them is quite another, especially here at Darlington. But as I said, the one takes that lunge to the inside. Gonna try and make it work off of turn 4, not to be that time around, but he is less than a car length away.
Yeah,
Back
we know
in the
how
turn-
fast Morton is here. Just trying to run as close as he can to a leaf. Going to put the pressure on right here to try to take that second place position, which he's going to look down low here and almost a bit of contact as they go through here. But a leaf going to run right back up high, and I think going to be side by side. Morton does check out as he go across the front straight here, but that was super close. None of these drivers want to give up any amount of space on the track here. Want to maintain whatever they can get to try to get the edge over the other driver here.
Both of these cars are familiar with each other, especially this season when these two were battling for the race win at the Roval a few weeks ago, and then the one of Morton dumped a Leaf with like 3 laps to go, ended up getting a time penalty for it, and lost out on a chance to win the race, and the Leaf would go on to score his first victory of the season. I'm sure that has not been forgotten by either driver. They're trying to run each other hard, but they're not trying to run each other over. But right now, all of this intense battling is starting to pull them both back from Daniel Nanny a little bit. But I mean, this has been a phenomenal scrap for second, as now Morton really lunged corner entry. He's going to try and diamond off the corner, and he's going to get a really good run down the front stretch. To the inside now.
Here. Side by side going to turn number 1, and I think Morton might have a little bit of an advantage. And I think he clears him with over a car length as they cross in the exit of turn 2 here. And I think Morton has the spot for good.
Our move by the one of Matt Morton. He diamond off the corner of 3 and 4, helped him get a better run down the front stretch, and then lunged it into turn 1 and was able to take away that spot. The Leaf may have backed out a little bit to make sure he didn't wipe out the both of them, but either way, a strong pass there by the Ohio State driver, splitting up that duo of Ball State cars at the front of the field. And now on lap 49, Matt Morton has no one on track in front of him between him and the leader, Daniel Nanny. That gap is 2 seconds, but now a lot of open track and a lot of clean air to hit the nose of that race car to try and track him down.
Yeah, Morton just completely ran off with this, so we'll see if Leaf has anything left in his toolbox to climb back up. But let's look a bit further back at some of the other battles on the field. I feel we can see here, I think this is Andrew Williams, currently in the 5th position, defending against Zachary DeWale, is defending against Halterman, who's defending against Cummings here. Cummings has had a pretty good run here, making up a lot of time and a lot of space here. An alternate 077 and 7th as we focus the camera on him currently. Nice yellow car representing UNC Charlotte here.
Do a little bit of throwback there. I want to say to that yellow Dave Blaney car. That was the famed 3rd car of that classic Darlington finish in 03, who would have won if Kurt Busch and Craven wrecked each other at the line, but instead he finished for 3rd here as Halterman now moving up a spot. He'll take away that 6th position. Big grin on his face here as he finally gets around the 519 of DeWale. He was in the St. Clair car's tire tracks for the opening 51 laps of this race. Finally gets around him and now has an opportunity to try and pounce on the 123 as he closes right up to the back bumper. Now we'll break a little bit earlier trying to figure out how to get this run off the corner here. It's tough to make a pass into 3. It's a lot better to try and set it up off of 4 to make that pass into 1. He is pushing the back bumper of the 123 right now.
Super close here. All of these drivers, I think, are starting to kind of choose the similar line here, running up high and coming down low on turns 3 and 2 and 4. I mean, to get a nice exit onto the straightaways and get a run on the competitors who don't. But we can see Halterman running a bit up high, getting a bit of air on the outside trying to make a run here. Nearly had one, but I think he stalled out a little bit thanks to Williams's positioning, and he's not going to be able to make the move just yet. You can see that move. I think I talked about it during our run up, where you run low in turn one and you wash up high, effectively scrubbing your speed away. The Leaf pit, I think. He was in third, and he's now in pit lane. We can see it on our screen there, along with one of the Wingate machines. I think that's Brandon Schulenberger. Sky Shrek is also in the pits, or exiting the pits. But a Leaf in that second pit box is going to be taking 4 tires and a nice full tank of Sunoco fuel, and is going to rejoin the race now. But this is a bit of an early call. I think we predicted we were going to be about 2 pit stops this race. Lap 55, he decides to start it off. And about 10 laps earlier than we were expecting, but Muhammad Alif, I think, given how I won't say easy, but once Morton was passed, he was starting to run away with it, and I think Muhammad Alif needed to try something a bit different if he wanted to try to regain that space. And I think the undercut is going to be that tool that could get him that chance.
Yeah, I like the idea here. He'll be the first car with fresh tires out there who's had a good bit of pace, and I think that might force some of our cars up front to think about pitting sooner than they would have liked, knowing that the 12 will definitely make up some ground on them. I saw that Andrew Stagey had already come down pit road as well. Here comes Matt Morton down pit road, the Ohio State machine from second place, going to pit. Same with Charles Wimbley, who will pit from fourth. So the playoff drivers kicking off their pit cycle here, one of 2 projected in tonight's race. And you can't afford to have mistakes on pit road at any time, but especially under green, because every second that you waste not moving is a second that you aren't going to get back on track all that easily.
Yeah, Morton, I think he finds his pit box without much of a difficulty. I think we can see his pit board right there. Bit of an interesting one there, one of the few non-numerical pit boards, as you can see on there. It's a
little terrifying to make your way down pit road and see Brutus Buckeye just staring at you.
But
I don't think we have a little bit of optional repair damage maybe for the one of Matt Morton. He gets that thing tuned up, 4 tires and fuel, back out on track there to try and challenge with the 12 of a Leaf, who's going to try and undercut him. Now Zach DeWale, Daniel Nanny, Drew Williams on pit road, all the leaders making their way on down now.
Yeah, I think, albeit a bit early than some of us were expecting, I think this is a good call to basically cut off any chance at an undercut, or at least the chance of an undercut from some of the drivers who pitted early, namely Muhammad Alif. We see Zachary DeWale here. He's pulling into his pit box. 519 St. Clair College machine finds its pit box with comfort. I believe all of these drivers are choosing the 4-tire strategy here to keep those tires fresh, get them some nice grip, some good fuel, and get back out there. I'm a bit surprised no one's tried to do something crazy and do the 2-tire, but also I do think it's a bit of a risky strategy if they were to try that. But Zach DeWale, he's out, he's back on track, about in the same place as most of these other playoff runners who pitted earlier on a couple laps ago.
So everyone trying to shuffle back out to figure out where they are in the pit cycle. Looks like Alif will actually lead the current pit cycle when it all comes back around over Daniel Nanny and Matt Morton. The undercut giving him the track position, but also those tires will fade a bit quicker since he's been out there longer. You see he's just barely got the edge over his teammate Nanny there. This is the on-track battle for 7th, but it will be the provisional lead once everyone cycles through on the pit stops. Nanny is right there on the back bumper of Alif as they go into turn 1. That purple Ball State machine has led most of the laps here today, and now trying to get around his teammate and the race leader. They're trying to get their lap back here against Halterman. Alif goes to the inside into turn 3. Nanny looks to do the same. They both dive under the 077. They'll get back on the lead lap, and I think Nanny caught him at a better place on track as now he makes the pass on Alif as well, or he's going to attempt to going in the 1.
I think at that point it was already decided at that point. Just let their teammates there. But not sure if there were team orders there, but I think definitely team behaviors of Yeah, let's not crash. Let's get a nice result for our school here, Ball State. One of the most prolific programs in this season of the CIL, Flexware College Cup Series, and I think with how many students they have that, or how many people they have that are racing in these races, it's at some point there's going to be Ball State coming together and a bit of an incident, but definitely not right now, and not in the playoffs, and not with two playoff drivers who we expect to succeed here. So just played it smart, let it play clean, and both of them currently are still in front of Morton here, which could be pretty instrumental. And if they want to keep the position, I think they could try some team orders here. A Leaf maybe defending against Morton to give Nanny a bit of breathing room, just run some laps down, and try to stay up front.
The big thing I've noticed so far through this pit cycle is we make our way on the lap 65 of 150. Matt Morton cut off a significant bit of the gap he had to Nanny on pit road there. He was trailing by about 2 seconds before the pit cycle. Now that gap only about a second. However, before the pit cycle, he didn't have to pass Muhammad Alif again. He had already gotten by the 12. Now he has to get his way around the 12 a second time before he can think about chasing down the 30. And you got to imagine he's not going to be too keen on staying behind the 12 for long if he can help it. As a little bit of contact through the center of the corner as they now dive down to get around the car of Andrew Burrell. But Matt Morton now with this pick in between him and Daniel Nanny. Do you think the 12 tries to not necessarily hold up the one, but battle a bit tougher here, not only for a position, to try and give his teammate some space, or will it just be a simple on-track battle here, knowing that Alif can't really lose sight of the 30 either if he win this race?
I think he's going to be playing a team player and pull the Kevin Magnuson and try to slow him down and give him a bit more breathing room and play the team game.
Hopefully he doesn't also pull the Magnuson and wipe out whoever is trying to pass him like he did the other day. But as we hit lap 67 of 150 here, nearing the halfway point of this race, Clinton Halterman from UNC Charlotte leads at the moment. That 077, one of the few cars yet to come down pit road. 4 cars have yet to make their stops. It is Halterman, Cummings, and then the 2 Auburn cars of Velicky and Smith, who are scored 3rd and 4th. But from there on back, everyone has come down pit road at least once, with Nanny, Alif, and Morton, and then Burrell, Nordberg, and Wembley. Actually, I don't think Burrell has come down pit road yet either. I think it's Nordberg and Wembley. So a few holdouts here trying to push the end of their fuel limits if they can. We've projected that it is 60 to 70 laps on this fuel window, so got to imagine they're nearing the end of it pretty shortly here. It might be a little bit longer, as it looks like someone's on their way down pit road. Not sure who that is bringing it down pit road, but now Muhammad Alif getting caught up in some traffic here. Those Auburn cars on those older tires creating a roadblock here for those 2 cars trying to get by on fresh tires. Alif and Morton go by on the inside, but bit of a tense moment for both of those drivers, I'd have to imagine.
Yeah, that's just part of this type of racing at a track like Darlington on an oval. And traffic is always a concern for all of these drivers using traffic to make a pick and get some pretty good positions thanks to just circumstance, really. As we can see, Daniel Nanny at the bottom of your screen overtaking, I believe that was one of the Clemson machines of Nicholas Stockner. But traffic is always a consideration, and you just got to play it smart, play it safe. You don't want to take yourself out, especially not as a playoff driver, if they want to have a good chance of making their way into the championship 4.
So now you see Morton and Alif have kind of settled in here. They're just trying to get around all this traffic to get back up to Daniel Nanny, who in this time I think has done a bit of a better job than these 2 in getting around the lap traffic and has opened up that gap. So when Cummings and Halterman eventually bring it down pit road, he will once again inherit the lead. Halterman, though, has gotten a nice stint out front. He's been hoping for a caution, maybe trying to trap some of those cars behind him so he can get fresh tires, but so far, it's been an incredibly clean race from all of our drivers here at Darlington today. No cautions yet. Knock on wood that it'll stay that way as we make our way through lap 72. It'll be Halterman, Cummings, Nanny, Alif, and Morton as they run. He's looking a little farther back in the field here. You see the 88 of Andrew Stagey. Right behind him, it's Brandon Schulenberger from Wingate. His on board here, trying to do a little bit of attack and defense as he's trying to track down the 88 and defend from the 199. Let's go on board here with the 7 to see how this goes. This is the battle for 13th. Bit of wall contact there for the 7. Didn't seem to hurt his momentum too badly, though, but definitely will be a little bit of a stripe, and that'll happen from time to time here at Darlington. The goal is to minimize that.
I mean, it's just weight savings. You saw it with Carlos Sainz. I mean, I think you can remove flashing, but remove some metal and get a bit of a speed advantage thanks to reduced weight. So,
yeah, you don't need fenders on the car. What are they for?
that's mechanics. They're automotive surgeons.
Yeah, there we go. So, we have reached the halfway point of today's race. It does look like Jake Cummings now bringing it down pit road here. He might be trying the one-stop strategy. If he can make it to lap 75, he could possibly make it to lap 150 on this set of tires. Not sure if it would work out for him in the long run. Those fresh tires seem to be eating up the field right now, but it does seem to have a proof of concept. So maybe Clinton Halterman's thinking the same thing and going to try and one-stop this. Might not be the optimal play, but it might work out for him. You never know. I have been notoriously bad when it comes to trying to calculate people's, fuel ratings, especially as we get late in a race here. So Jake Cummings brings it down pit road, and now Clinton Halterman will do the same. As we hit lap 77, the 077 brings it down pit road. So does Veliky, Burl, and Wallet. But the provisional leader there in Clinton Halterman will bring it down pit road. He was the last car on this cycle to bring it down pit road. He looks to be doing the one-stop strategy as well, which means Daniel Nanny will re-inherit the lead. He's about a second clear of Alif and Morton as they run, and then it's a massive gap back to Charles Wimbley in fourth. So right now it is a 3-car battle for this race lead.
Yeah, it's about time that these drivers do their first pit stops, and I think it's definitely the time to do it. Of course, being halfway, the one stop is definitely one thing that they can do, and I think it has a chance of working, but these drivers are going to have to be so consistent and hope the cards play perfectly into their hand if they want to make this work. And I'm not too certain on it. I think I keep trying to advocate, and anytime I'm casting, I'm like, but what if the one stop? And I'm not too certain about it tonight, just because how far the 077 is down. I think they're about in 13th position, as you can see on the timing tower, a lap down, even behind Stockner, who's also a lap down. So I'm kind of skeptical if the one stop can even work here, but definitely have the opportunity if the cards really are in their favor tonight.
I do find it funny that, you are quite the big advocate for trying the alternate strategy, and then, someone will try the alternate strategy and tonight you're like, maybe not tonight. It feels like if there's any night where, out of spite, nature will say that the alternate strategy will work, it would be tonight. But obviously a lot of time to tell from then still. So about 70 laps to go here next time they hit the stripe, which means I think it is a prime time if we do a little CIL crank it up action, a little CIL full send. Producer Christian, is that something we're able to do? Alrighty, folks, we'll be back in just a second here. Keep on watching it. We're going to let these engines go to full bore, and we'll do a little CIL full send, and we'll listen to these big V8s cranking around the track. Welcome back, folks. While we were away, we saw that pass from Matt Morton on R. Muhammad Ali to get back in the second. And then we've been on board with this battle here. The 519 of Zach the Whale, the 37, Charles Wembley, battling it out for fourth. And here comes Halterman on those fresh tires. He is still a lap down, mind you. But those fresh tires, you can see the difference there. Even that gap of only about 15 laps, that is what Halterman's trying to bank on. Having those fresher tires most of this run and then trying to inherit the lead while those guys are on pit road. You can see the difference. So the alternating strategies in full effect here, but a big slide for the 077 nearly cost him big time there through turn 1 and 2. Now flying past this whole group goes the 077. Gutsy pass there. And now the Auburn machine of Landon Velicky looks to go to the inside as well. He's on some fresh tires. Here comes Jake Cummings. Everyone at varying speeds here on track trying to get themselves sorted out.
Yeah, but still just...
Whoa! Contact there between the
almost
124
4 wide there.
And the 37. 3 wide, almost 4 wide for a second.
That was a fantastic
Now Velicky
move
through the
for
middle.
Cummings.
Landon
Cummings.
Velicky on fresh tires. Right through the middle of DeWale and Stockner. DeWale's been trying to mind his business here in fifth, as none of these cars outside of Charles Wembley have been for position. And all of a sudden now he's getting tailed by Drew Williams as all those cars go flying on by. This pit cycle has really shuffled up the field in a big way. Everyone is running at very different speeds out there right now.
Yeah, it's forced a lot of these drivers, as we see Stockner again in the wall, getting a bit of that Darlington stripe. But yeah, this pit cycle's forced a lot of drivers into uncomfortable and unfamiliar positions. The field's just shaking around in some obvious ways, like Morton finding himself behind Nanny in a leaf. But in some less anticipated ways, such as what we saw right there. I've said it like 3 times, but Cummings was a massive benefactor from that incident. I think he got like 2 positions just thanks to the checkup that like half of that gaggle had right there, and now he's looking pretty comfortable being like on his own further beyond the limits of our camera. But you're looking at him right now, and he's in clean air, both in front and behind him, just on lap car. And the Auburn machine, that looks like there was a bit of a awkward positioning there for the Auburn car of, I believe that's Velicky, but it was a very notable incident. But thankfully they all came out pretty clean, and they're all just continuing to go. So lap number 93, and they're all looking comfortable.
The big thing here, if we could go back to Jake Cummings for just a moment, is if you look ahead there to that yellow car of Halterman, about a half straightaway ahead, these 2 cars are the guys trying to make that one stop work who were in the hunt up front. You also had a couple of the Auburn cars, but they also sit an extra lap down right now. But Halterman and Cummings, the big 2, who are still 1 lap down, but are on about 15 lap fresher tires here. As you can see, Cummings is on board. A lot of wheel movement there, trying to get that car to make its way comfortably around the track here, closing in on the 34 of Logan Smith. And we'll dive to the inside to take that position away, although, position on track, not position on the timing tower. As the 2 Auburn cars will now find each other. Those 2 cars are back in position. But the 100 of Jake Cummings and the 077 of Clint Halterman on a wildly different strategy than the rest of the field. I am really curious, if this stays green, how close they will be at the end. I'm not sure if they'll be in the hunt for the win, but I think their alternating strategy, if nothing else, will put a lot of stress on some of the leaders who are doing the 2-stop strategy, knowing that there is someone on such a radically different approach to it tonight, where they could be in trouble if cautions fall the wrong way on either side. But it's interesting. It's going to add a whole nother layer for those guys who are going to try and make the whole thing on 1 stop versus those who have committed to the 2-stop by pitting around lap 55 to 60.
Yeah, but we're starting to get a little bit closer to the point where I think a lot of these drivers who were trying to do that 2-stop are going to come back on pit road. I think in about 10 laps, they're going to decide it. and come down pit road, get some fresh tires, some fresh fuel, and get back on track. And we're going to see just how far in front Halterman and Cummings are going to be relative to the rest of the field. And I think that's going to be the main deterministic factor of if this one stop is going to work, is once we see those pit stops, if they are about, I want to say 15 seconds in front, it might be safe, but I'm not sure how safe it's going to be if it's any amount shorter than that, just because the tires are already going to be fading, especially at a track like Darlington. It's an old surface. It's a bumpy surface. It's an unforgiving surface. And old tires are really tricky to keep under you when you're running on such old rubber. So definitely going to want a nice amount of buffer to slowly bleed away as you close out the race and hopefully maintain that leading position.
Yeah, so a little farther up front here, this is the battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th. The 37 of Wembley, the 519 of the Whale, and the 123 of Williams. Jason Wallet not on the same lap here. He is 2 laps down right now in 19th. His campaign here to try and make the championship 4 off to a rocky start here. Multiple laps down and with no cautions here. His odds of getting back on the lead lap probably slim to none. So a tough start here for the 76. There's a few other cars who are 2 laps down, a few of them even ahead of him here, between his teammate and Timothy Wilms and Logan Smith just ahead of him. But right now, points not looking too hot for the Drexel driver. Just behind him, though, this battle for 4th really heating up here. All 3 of these guys playoff drivers, all looking to score some very critical points here in this playoff race. Wembley, DeWale, and Williams, 4, 5, 6 right now as they make their way into turns 1 and 2. 50 laps to go here from Darlington. You got to imagine that pit window for those 2-stop drivers is opening up right about now, although we'll probably see some takers in a few laps.
Yeah, only about 49 laps to go. It's impending, the next round of pit stops, and I'm anticipating a flurry. I imagine Leaf might pit earlier, trying to do the undercut again. A Leaf pitted on lap 53, I believe. Producer Christian has informed me. I believe that was one of our first pit stop takers. So if he is gonna do that again, I think it's gonna be soon, in like the next 6 laps or so.
Oh, the 37! Contact with the 519, and around goes Wembley. He is going to get collected by Burrell, and the caution is out. Oh, man, one of the playoff drivers had his fortunes here today change in an instant. You saw how close they were running through turns 1 and 2, and the 37 got contact in the left rear by the 519 of DeWale. Lost it coming off of turn 2, and as he was trying to lock it down, I think he got the nose taken off by the 121, who just ran out of space to avoid him.
Yeah, we saw that happen live on your screen, and just a awkward occurrence there, just a bit of contact. That very unfortunate incident for Wembley here, but hopefully the damage is not too serious. I mean, he's missing the whole front bumper, but I don't think it's going to be the end of his race, but it's definitely going to be a nice dent to his success tonight, whereas I believe our replay is ready. So the first replay tonight, let's have a look at how this incident has transpired. Let's see the 519 on inside. So Wembley actually gets on the wall a little bit, gets a bit of an oscillation, and I think in the panic of trying to save the car from the wall, he loses sight of DeWale, and he just kind of cuts down a little bit, and Burrell, and barely a little bit of shear as he passes by, and the bumper popping off right when it stops, like it's right out of a cartoon. But yeah, we can look at it from Burrell's onboard right here, way up front. This is actually turn number 4 currently, so let's give it just a second. Bear with us for just a second.
But you can also see that they were already battling pretty hard on the front stretch before they even get into turn 1.
Yeah, and it was really close. It's hard to even see with how far back we are, but Burrell might have actually been on the receiving end of some damage as well. I think we could see the bumper move a little bit on the front end of that Clemson Ford Mustang. But Wembley, we can see pulling out of the pits here with, I believe, a pretty repaired car. We couldn't see the front end, and that was the majority of the damage was. But Burrell's also going to come into the pits, as well as a couple other drivers. We just saw enough fray come across the screen. But Wembley on your screen, the 37 Guilford College machine has its bumper again. It's been reunited.
I was about to say, I guess they duct taped that bad boy back on there. So while we are under caution laps here, we're going to take a quick chat with one of our drivers who got a front row view of that. It's the 519 of Zach DeWale. We'll see if we can get a hold of him. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, that was so we got the 519 here for a second. Zach running pretty good so far. Currently scored in that top 5, top 6 most of the night. A little bit of contact there between you and the 37. What did you see?
Well, I got to his inside, coming down to 1, and just tried to make a move because it was probably going to be for a podium, I guess, but couldn't make it stick on the inside there, and kind of washed up. They said it was netcode. I don't know how close we actually were, but I guess it was pretty close. I don't really know. It's disappointing. We should still be up in the top 5. I didn't see the pit lane was open. Kind of shot myself in the foot there.
Well, still have about 45 laps to try and rally back here. We'll let you get to it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and that is Zach DeWale, who running pretty good so far, but it sounds like maybe a bit of issues trying to get down pit road, and we're going to shuffle back deep into the field. So one of the things I want to point out here, just before we go back racing green, the 2 cars that this negatively affects the most was Jake Cummings and Clint Halterman. Those 2 guys trying to do the one stop because they had enough wear on those where they also had to get new tires, but they don't get to reap the benefits of their decisions. So tough break for both of those guys, but it'll be Nanny and Morton up front. And for only the second time tonight and the first time since the opening flag, we are racing once again from Darlington. The 30 jumps out to a good lead as the 7 of Schulenberger will punt Matt Morton to Nanny's back bumper. And now they make their way through 1 and 2. You see a couple new faces up there. Kelton Quick, Matt Nordberg, Zach DeWale trying to get around them both. DeWale dives to the inside here. Going to run that 2 right side by side as they make their way off the corner. Drew Williams, Charles Wembley trying to follow him through. Wembley thinking about making a 3 wide here, diving in the 1. Williams will slide up 2 wide through 1 and 2. Tight quarters there. Everyone trying to get it sorted out. Nordberg and Wembley continue the battle. Wembley gets the nose ahead and will take away the 8th position. His rally back to the front will continue. Meanwhile, looking up front, Matt Morton right on the back bumper of Daniel Nanny. He's got Schulenberger just behind him.
Yeah, definitely not who you want breathing down your neck. Is just really anybody, but I think Schulenberger is definitely going to be trying to be a bit of a spoiler here. He's not in the playoffs, but I think could definitely put a very interesting complexion to the playoff picture if a non-playoff driver were to take the win tonight. So I'm kind of hoping that we see something unique to happen tonight with Schulenberger trying to play the spoiler effect. Currently breathing. Morton's exhaust right here. That number 7 is on good pace to fight Morton here. Taking a bit of a different line into 1 and 2. They're running high, but Morton cuts it off. Washes up high to rob Schulenberger of the clean air, and are staying about single file.
They both got a really good run toward Daniel Nanny that time by. Morton closed the car length gap to about a car length just behind them. Kelton Quick has got a lot of playoff traffic just behind him. Drew Williams, Zach DeWale, Charles Wembley, all nose to tail there. Wembley has gotten to the back bumper of DeWale. It was those 2 cars who had brought out the caution just a moment ago, so curious to see if they give each other any room here, if they try to make a pass on each other. Here goes Williams to the inside of Kelton Quick. He's got that nose ahead and will be able to slide up and take that position away. Moving back into the top 5 here is that Clemson driver who's had a slow but steady run here in that 5th place range. Out front, though, look at this. Alif now battling to the inside of Schulenberger. Not quite able to get the pass done there. This whole top group starting to accordion back together as Matt Morton is breathing down the back bumper of Daniel Nanny right now. That gap was less than 2/10 just a moment ago. It's been hovering around 2/10 most of the past couple laps. Here goes Zach DeWale to the inside of Kelton Quick on the front stretch. Whoa, bit of contact there! And into the wall goes the 2. The 37 collected as well. The caution is out. And let me tell you, I think the car that benefited from that the most is going to be Lucas Moody, who will get back on the lead lap. I thought it was going to be Jason Wallet, but it looks like he lost out that position at the last minute. So Wallet's still 1 lap down, but Kelton Quick goes for a wild ride on the front stretch. A little bit of contact with the 519 led to big contact with the outside wall and the 37. It's tough to tell if that was actual contact or netcode, though, but those two were running each other real tight on the front stretch.
Very unfortunate occurrence for Kelton Quick right there. Was running up at front, and now it's the last car in the lead lap. But let's take a look at the replay of how this incident has transpired to get us on our only second caution of the Southern 200 right here. Looking at Kelton Quick currently on the outside of Zachary DeWale here, exiting what looks to be turn number 4. And that's an odd one.
It might be that the 2 actually came down a little bit. I might need to take a second look at that one, but it almost seemed like the 2 was up at that outside wall. The 519 was running him close, but it almost seemed like the 2 made a little bit of a jerk down to the left when there was no real room to operate there. It also might have been that the 519 was up. It's really tough to tell from that angle, but either way, the 2 ends up with the far worse of that. And the 37 gets a piece of it as well. So the night continuing to the downward spiral here for the 37, but curious if we could get like an onboard of the 2.
Or of Wembley as either.
Actually, yeah, the onboard of Charles Wembley might be able to tell the story here. He gets a front row view to that.
Yeah, here we go. We can see their side-by-side racing right here. I think when he was exiting the corner, he had a bit of an oversteer moment. But as a result, he was saving it, and it took a bit of it was just oscillating as he left the straight, or after he left turn 4. And he just kind of happened to oscillate into the path of Zachary DeWale and get tipped around. But definitely a bit of a weird incident right there, but shouldn't be the end of his race. But I think he's had to pit for some very, I think, significant repairs, and is definitely going to be way down the pack. Was already last in the lead lap, but I think it's just set in stone at this point of where he's going to be.
So up front here, as we look with 35 laps to go, it'll be Daniel Nanny and Matt Morton, Brandon Schulenberger, R. Muhammad Alif, Drew Williams, Zach DeWale. The 30 has been the fastest car on track all night. Morton, though, did not let the 30 get away, and we know that one machine has a lot of long speed. The question now becomes is if there's enough time for that long run speed to kick in. When they go racing, it'll be just north of 30 laps to go. That 30, we know he's got some speed, but let's see if we can pull another driver into the booth real quick to talk about their run so far. We've got the 7 of Brandon Schulenberger. Brandon, you got a moment?
Yes, sir.
So, talk to us about your race so far. We see you sitting up there in P3. You've slowly but steadily made your way on up there, and now with about 30 laps to go or so, you're in the hunt. What are you seeing from your view?
Yeah, I knew pretty early when we started to go green that it was probably going to be the safest to do a 2-stop strategy. I think Jake was going for the 1-stop, and he's finally got it back on the lead lap. But that first run, we did pretty poor on the tire saving, so came back. The second run was a lot better, and I think because we were about P8, I think, when that caution came out, and I think there was some confusion on when the pits open. I think I heard DeWale say something, so I was kind of shocked that I got to P3, but we're definitely taking. I'm trying to just mind right now, especially with still 33-ish to go. I'm trying to keep these tires on me. I don't want to burn them in those last 10 to 15 and get eaten up by the guys around me. But right now, we're just trying to hang with this pack, not really looking to pass these front two at all.
Alrighty. Well, best of luck to you on your goal to try and keep the tires on that thing. We'll see how you do the
Thank you,
rest
sir.
of the way.
Thank
And
you.
that was the 7 of Brandon Schulenberger, who currently sits P3 on track. Running right now inside the midst of 5 playoff cars, 2 ahead, 1 to his outside, and 2 behind. So the lone non-playoff guy trying to play spoiler like Eric Jones did at Darlington a few years ago. Pace car peels off here. Barney's got that green flag in the air as they make their way through turn 4. It'll be Nanny and Morton. Green flag in the air. We are racing once again, and the 1 got a jump on the 30 of Nanny. He'll be right on his outside door as they go in the turn 1. Right to his back bumper. It's nose and nose there for the lead. Here they go down the backstretch now. Morton has a run on the 30 to the inside. Diving in there is the Ohio State machine. Ball State on the outside. Nanny has been the fastest car all day, but here comes the Buckeye machine to the inside. The reigning College Cup Series champion looking to punch his ticket to the championship 4 here tonight. They remain side by side through 1 and 2. Fierce battle, a little bit of contact, a little bit more. Oh, the save from Matt Morton. He had to catch that car off of turn 2. Oh my goodness, he almost lost it there. They were leaning on each other the entire way through turn 2. Morton ends up being the big loser of that exchange. He will catch the car but fall back to the 5th position here and will have to work his way back up to the front. And he had a run there, but Daniel Nanny really stuck the elbows out there through 1 and 2 and did not like being side by side.
Yeah, but very well held from Morton there. Seems like he's just continuing on without too much of a concern after what I think would psych a driver out, just get a bit out of their groove and get in their head, really. But Morton currently still in P5. Every driver in front of him is a playoff driver, though, so he doesn't need to keep that in mind. All these drivers want to keep their positions to try to maintain their ability to get in our championship 4. So I guess how it stands right now is he'd actually be out of the championship 4 if it were to close tonight, but there's still races to go, but he's definitely just wants to be safe and not have to worry about beating the competition next week if he wants to get in that championship 4.
Less than 30 laps to go here from Darlington Raceway. A ticket to the championship 4 on the line for each of these first 5 drivers. Make it 7 of the top 8, 8 of the top 9 actually, as Halterman, Cummings, and Stagey enter the scene as well. But this front 5-6 cars, they are all battling here. Now here goes Halterman to the inside. Schulenberger, he will add himself to the mix of playoff drivers jockeying for position up front. Daniel Nanny has half of the playoff field breathing down his neck right now with less than 30 laps to go. This is such a precarious situation for all of these playoff drivers. They're putting on a great show up front, but if even one thing goes wrong, they're going to lose out so many points to their competitors because so many of them are running so well tonight.
Yeah, there's not much space you can put between these drivers. Right? And sometimes it's 0 length between these drivers, as we saw with that Nanny Morton incident. But these drivers do not want to give anything that they can. They want to maintain this position. Alif doing some stellar defense against Williams here to maintain his 2nd position behind his Ball State teammate here. And it's a Ball State 1-2 we're currently looking at right here. And it's what's the term? The Great Wall of Ball? We got that right here.
Yeah, that's I think that was coined either by you or Zach Lindler, one of the two. It might have been someone else. I don't know. I just know I definitely have not said it. But right now they run 1-2. Drew Williams currently in 3rd, trying to figure out a way around a leaf. As Matt Morton now making his way onto the scene. He's back in business now, looking to the outside of. He's got a nose there. Now make it half a car. They'll be side by side off the corner. Here comes the Buckeye machine and Clint Halterman trying to follow him. That 077 really has come alive this run. After trying a one-stop strategy earlier, here comes Halterman and UNC Charlotte powering his way to the fourth. He's trying to interject himself into this situation and get this win. As you see a little bit of contact between Nordberg and Stagey just on behind. Frantic action up front here is now Cummings leaning on the back bumper of DeWale. So many playoff cars in this top group right here, all nose to tail. 25, now 24 laps to go from Darlington.
Yeah, the playoff complexion here has kind of been very changing as these drivers are fighting for P3 and P4, which has been just changing continuously as these laps have waned down. DeWale and Williams had it after that Morton Nanny incident. Now it's kind of changed. Now Halterman and Morton are currently in those positions behind the two Ball State cars, and it's just keeping the change. It's not a constant. It keeps changing over time, and it's going to keep changing over time, as I think some of these drivers might be trying to take as much time as they can, and they're going to be abusing their tires, maybe burning more fuel, and it's all the considerations that these drivers are going to make, and maybe these drivers are playing the long game, maybe these drivers are playing the defensive game, and we just don't know. It just keeps changing, and we need to keep our eyes up for what might change in the future. Caution, an accident, some sort of weird occurrence that I can't even predict. It definitely change how this looks. Maybe rain, right?
Yeah, maybe. So on screen right now, you've got Clint Halterman on your left, Drew Williams on your right, both in picture and on track there. You can see how much wheel movement both of them are putting in, really seesawing the wheel to get through 3 and 4, as you see just behind them some battling between DeWale and Cummings there. This battle inside the top 5, fast and heavy right now. Here goes Halterman inside of Halterman looked to take away third place for just a second. Wasn't able to get the pass done. And we'll settle back in the fourth in the clutches of Drew Williams. Williams going to really take that corner entry short, though, trying to get a big run off the corner. Morton has caught the back bumper of a Leaf as well. 20 laps to go from Darlington. Time running out if you're not in this top 5 group to make your move toward the front. One car right now, I'm sure frantically hoping a yellow flag flies, is the 76 of Jason Wallet. He's fought back to be the top car 1 lap down. Another caution would put him back on the lead lap, and that would be huge for his playoff chances. But right now, the lowest running playoff driver in the field, to my understanding. As this battle for second, third, and fourth continuing to heat up, a Leaf, Morton, Halterman, all duking it out. These guys have been up on the podium, winning races all season long, and now they all trail Daniel Nanny by just a couple tenths of a second. But they got to figure out how they're going to race each other before any of them have a chance of getting up to the 30.
Here comes Halterman on the inside out of turn number 4. He's going to stall out, and Morton is going to maintain that third position. But the give and take here, I think it seems like accordion as they exit turn number 2. Looking behind, I think there might have been a bit of a moment there from, was it Williams or Cummings? But something happened back there. Producer Christian was saying something.
Yes, you know the action's good when we're even getting commentary from those behind the scene. That's how you know you're watching some good stuff here. Now Cummings on the back bumper of Williams, Halterman on the back bumper of Morton. Everything on the line here for these drivers. Nose to tail they run, all in the top 7 cars. All of these guys playoff drivers. So many points that can shuffle hands here over the next 17 laps. Halterman dives to the inside. Power move from UNC Charlotte. They'll take away the third position. Halterman now trying to reel in Muhammad Alif. The 077 has come to life in this final run here.
That
he
was a
is
matter
staring
of time.
down the back bumper of the 12.
Yeah, well, Halterman was just staring down Morton for a couple laps and finally has been able to make that move into turn number 3 and make it stick too. And at this point, now staring down the Leaf, staring down the Ball State machine of number 12 of Alif. And I think he's going to try to make this happen and maybe try to take down Manny and do a pretty surprising turn of events and take the win tonight if he can manage it from his Camaro.
There's only one school left that Halterman will need to pass, but they've got 2 drivers in front of him. Daniel Nanny has been the fastest car on track all night. He has led the vast majority of the laps here today. He is currently scored 4 tenths faster than teammate Muhammad Ali, who maintains that 2-car length gap over the 077 with 15, now 14 laps to go here from Darlington. Ball State, UNC Charlotte, Ohio State, and Clemson, your top 5. Playoff drivers make up the top 7 as well as 10th, 11th, and 13th. Daniel Nanny has not made a misstep all race, outside of maybe a little bit of contact there from Morton a while back, but that was maybe a bit more of a racing incident. Those 2 guys were battling hard for the lead. Otherwise, it has been smooth sailing for the 30. He currently maintains that gap over Alif and Halterman here as the laps begin to tick away. Does anyone have something for the 30, or will this be Daniel Nanny's 3rd victory of the season and his opportunity to punch his ticket to Kansas in 3 weeks' time?
He's looking very tidy though, Nanny. I think it's not too much can really set up much of a challenge right now. Look at that gap, over half a second between Nanny and Alif. I think it is kind of just set, unless if we see something, but I don't want to say what.
Not gonna try and get the commentator's curse out here as Daniel Nanny will make his way off of turn 4. It'll be 11 laps to go here from Darlington. The gap 6 tenths of a second. He's opening up that lead over Alif and Halterman. The 077 that looked like it had been on rails the opening 20 laps of the stint looks to be slowing down a little bit here, as now here comes Matt Morton right to the back bumper of Halterman. Could he take away the position and get back on the podium here? The Buckeye machine closing in a car length away, running half a lane lower than 3 and 4.
Yeah, I think that's going to be Halterman's main focus right now. Not up front, but back behind. Morton is going to be trying to take that position, but Halterman does have the advantage, so he's definitely going to be trying to just minimize the mistakes, running consistently, and keeping good tabs on Morton behind him to make sure that he doesn't give him an opportunity to pass. You saw how confident of a move that was he made a couple laps ago to take that 3rd position, but Morton is running just a couple inches away from Clint Halterman right there. He wants this position. He wants to get on the podium. He wants to talk to us. And
the 077 clips the wall through 1 and 2. A big block from Halterman trying to cut the momentum of Morton. Big moment for the 077 there. Clearly control that thing. Able to save it, able to hold on to 3rd, but they'll both lose out big time to Nanny and Alif. They both fell back a couple tenths of a second there. And as we hit 8 laps to go here from Darlington, it looks to be a potential Ball State 1-2 that may go unchallenged. 7 tenths the gap from Nanny to Alif, 7 tenths the gap from Alif to Halterman. And then no breathing room between Halterman and Morton here as they go into turn 3. That number 1 car is going to be running the 077 ragged, trying to get the inside here off of turn 4. Not able to make the move stick, but he is knocking on the door.
It feels like deja vu as to when Clint Halterman was trying to make his original move to get past Matthew Morton, as I think Morton might be in tapping the ball a little bit, very lightly. But when Halterman was trying to find his way past Morton, and he was in turn 4 and on the inside, but then would completely stall out as he gets onto the front straight. You can see Morton trying to make a move. Gets a bit closer, but he's gonna stall out once he gets on the front straight, and Halterman's gonna make some distance. But it seemed like it just was a common occurrence until he finally got the chance to close up on the back straight and make the move into 3 and not out of 4, and that's going to be Morton's main chance. He's going to make a move into 3, as I call
back
it.
in.
Morton's on his way. He's down low underneath Halterman, and he might have it, but Halterman fights back on the outside, on the outer lane, and I think he has a chance to maintain his 3rd position side by side on the front straight, and I think Halterman has it.
A great run off the exit of turn 4 for Halterman. Nick Stockner emerging back on track. Nearly made it a dicey moment. Contact between the two, the 077 and the outside wall. Matt Morton clips the outside wall a little bit as well. Heavy contact between the two. The one washed up the track, the 077. Heavy contact with that outside wall. Now, instead of battling for third, he needs to do everything he can just to try and hold on the fourth. As Drew Williams right onto his back bumper as well. As here goes the 124. Is he going to spin? The 124 clipped that inside wall. That thing is beat up, that is for sure, but it does not look like the caution flag is going to fly. A sigh of relief up front for our leader, Daniel Nanny, as this race will stay green with 4 laps to go. Meanwhile, back and forth here, you've got Clint Halterman and Drew Williams. The battle is on here for this 4th spot. Williams is on the back bumper here. We know that 077 took a big hit of damage. Does it have enough power to make its way around the last 3 laps?
Yeah, Williams back here is going to be licking his chops, trying to make that advantage, having the less damaged car. And you can see how closer he's getting lap after that damage happened to occur for Clint Halterman. Slowly getting closer, just running his laps, running his lines. Williams, I believe, is going to be able to make this happen, but with only 2 laps to go, Nanny's about to take it home, but Williams, will he have the time to make this move happen? You can see him on board, running a very wide line, about the same as Halterman here, but he's not going to have much of a run exiting turn number 2. About the same pace as Halterman right here. And doesn't really have much as he turns in number 3, and I think it might be stable.
1 lap to go here from Darlington Raceway. Our leader, the number 30 of Daniel Nanny, a 2-second gap out in front of our Muhammad Alif. He has barely put a misstep anywhere on track here tonight, and when challengers have come, he has knocked them down and held on to the lead. And as he makes his way through turns 3 and 4, the first driver to punch his ticket to Kansas in 3 weeks' time is going to be the Ball State Machine. The 30 of Daniel Nanny wins at Darlington Raceway. He'll pick up the Southern 200 victory and will be the first driver to lock himself into the Championship 4.
Very well held the whole race from Daniel Nanny, practically leading every lap. Just very well done from the number 30 Ball State University driver. Just very consistent all night, and he deserved this win.
A great run for him, but not only him, Ball State as a whole. Our Muhammad Alif brings it home 2nd place there, a Cardinal 1-2 finish, and they're going to burn it down on the front stretch here. You see Nanny going to start burning it down, celebrating the win and the berth into the Championship 4. Alif going to go out there and celebrate with him for the Ball State 1-2 finish. And we'll be talking to both of those drivers, plus a couple more in just a moment once they get out of their car. But a big victory for Daniel Nanny in the 30. A CIL rookie this season, but he's picked up his 3rd victory in the College Cup Series season, and he'll be the first guy looking to prep for Kansas Speedway in a few weeks' time. You see a couple other of the Ball State cars out there as well. Lucas Moody, Andrew Stagey. They're all going to try and burn it down together.
Yeah, it's one of the reoccurring themes of the CIL is just the proliferation of Ball State cars on the field, on the grid. It's a team effort, this team, and I think it shows with just how always there's a Ball State car in the mix. There's always something to talk about from these drivers, and it shows how consistent they are. They are a force to be reckoned with, and we have Daniel Nanny, who's locked into the playoffs this season, the Championship 4 for this season, and a very confident and comfortable looking Muhammad Alif, who I think is a definitely safe pick to be the next person to take their way into the Championship 4.
Certainly a possibility. He ran really well here tonight. And you'll see they pose for a little photo op opportunity for all those fans in the stands celebrating the Cardinal victory here tonight. But we'll be talking to them momentarily once they get out of their cars. We'll also have the unofficial final results of tonight's race in just a moment as well. We will do the results now while we're waiting for everyone in the car here. So winning tonight's race, it is the 30 of Daniel Nanny. R. Muhammad Ali rounds out that top 2 for Ball State. Matt Morton third for Ohio State. A couple more playoff drivers all in a row here. Clint Halterman from UNC Charlotte, Andrew Williams from Clemson University, Jake Cummings from Wingate go 4, 5, and 6. His teammate Brandon Schulenberger goes 7th for Wingate. Zach DeWale brings it home 8th for St. Clair College with Matt Nordberg in 9th and Andrew Stagey for Ball State in 10th, the third Ball State car in the top 10.
Our first car in the second set of the 10s is Charles Wimbley, one of our playoff drivers. Had a bit of a change of pace late on the race, but P11 coming home tonight from Guilford College. Lucas Moody, another Ball State machine, comes home in P12 ahead of one of our other playoff drivers, Jason Willott from Drexel. A bit of an unfortunate night, but still finished. Only was the first car was the first car lap down. Timothy Williams from Drexel, side by side with his teammate, comes home in 14th. Logan Smith and Landon Velicki, both Auburn cars, coming in 15th and 16th respectively. Nick Stockner nearly caused a late race incident, but saved it really well. Clemson University comes on P17, and Zachary Tallman and Austin DeLong, another university shared side by side. Pennsylvania College of Technology comes home 18th and 19th, and then Kelton Quick from Ball State comes home in 20th.
And rounding out our field tonight, it's Andrew Burrell, the 121, finishing 21st. Edwin Onofre from North Texas in 22nd. And Sky Schreck from Oklahoma in 23rd. And that will conclude our finishing order here. But now it is time to talk to our winning driver of the number 30 for Ball State University and the winner of tonight's race in dominating fashion. I also might pick to win the race, but that's neither here nor there. Daniel Nanny, congrats on the win and congrats on punching your ticket to the Championship 4.
Thank you, guys. Means a lot from you.
So, obviously, you were up front for most of tonight's race. Some of the closest call you had, though, was about 30 laps to go. You were side by side with the one of Matt Morton going through turns 1 and 2. It looked like both of you made a bit of contact with each other. Tell me from your perspective what you saw in that battle for the lead.
Well, if I remember correctly, we were heading into turn 1 and 2. That's where we made a little bit of contact. And I did indeed pinch him down a little bit, but I knew how important having the clean air would be because of dirty air and all. So I made sure that I pinned him down as hard as I could, but I did not touch him coming off exit.
Yeah, it was a very confident and comfortable, really just dominant drive you had tonight. How did you prepare for such a track that's often revered as being one of the non sequiturs on the schedule, one of the most unique tracks on the schedule?
Well, for me, I didn't practice at all. I was busy doing the pro practice over at Michael, so in Ball State, they all were cool about it, so they let me go do my own thing, then I come over and race on Mondays. But yeah, for this race, I didn't practice at all, and yesterday was my birthday, so I wasn't even on. So yeah.
Well, happy belated birthday.
Thank you. And well, I know the Ball State guys, they always practice every, I think, Friday and Sunday, so that's why I'm very impressed with Leaf and finishing second there.
Well, with the belated birthday gift to yourself, the victory here, your third of the season. Looking ahead, the last 2 races of this playoff round, Nashville Superspeedway and Homestead, other tracks that would fit in the bucket of uniquely shaped and relatively challenging mile and a halves. Do you think, the skill set that you have and the confidence you'd have from winning tonight will carry over into those 2 races?
I think I have a lot of confidence in Nashville. It's one of my favorite tracks. That's definitely one track I would have to practice, but I feel like that track should be pretty good. And Homestead, I was pretty good like a few months ago when it came over to the official series. So I feel like I can put up a decent challenge, but I'm not going to be sweating too much. I'm going to be helping my teammates get the best possible finishes.
Well, sounds like a good enough plan. And, we might have a pretty good opportunity to see multiple Ball State drivers in that Championship 4 race in a few weeks' time. But before we let you go celebrate your victory here tonight, anyone you'd like to thank or shout out?
I have to shout out the Ball State boys, especially Leaf finishing a nice top two there, so we can get the 1-2, and Andrew finishing a solid 10th place, so that's gonna help him a lot over the course of the playoff. I have to give a shout out to my parents, of course, and to watching. And yeah, that's about it.
Alrighty. Well, hey, congrats again on your win, Daniel. Big win for you, locking yourself into the Championship 4. Congrats, and we hope to talk to you again real soon.
Thank you, guys.
And that was Daniel Nanny, our winner here tonight from Darlington Raceway. Now, let's take a second to talk to the man who finished runner-up just behind him, his teammate, also from Ball State University. It is the 12 of R. Muhammad Alif. Congrats on the podium finish. Really strong run for you. It feels like podium finishes for you here at Darlington are starting to become something that you collect pretty regularly.
Yeah, it's a very technical track, so I do enjoy technical tracks or more technical tracks in the Cup Series. But yeah, just really happy. We got the 1-2 for Ball State. I don't know if we've done it before in the Cup Series, but super proud of that. Super happy with that. Daniel drove a very good race. And yeah, for me it was same thing. I was just learning new things, new techniques. From Daniel as well. I mean, he was like in the middle of the race. He told me some stuff, which told the team a few things, which helped a lot towards the second half of the race to beat out Matthew Morton. But yeah, super happy with the effort from the entire team. I think this is probably, I would say, as a collective, we're probably the most competitive here, and that's testament. So yeah, super happy with that.
Yeah, but thinking just a bit earlier on, if we can go all the way back earlier on, we had a long green flag run from like 100 laps, to be honest. And you were one of the first people pitting. Was there any sort of premeditation on when you'd pit, or was there a strategy call, or what were you thinking?
I saw in front of Matthew and Daniel, there were like 10 cars, lap cars. So I was like, you know what, it's best to probably box now and get the undercut, which worked out. So we got the undercut there. I think that was my main thinking behind there. Obviously, tires were almost finished at that point of the race for me. So it only made sense. Didn't want to get caught out with the undercut from the guys in front. So might as well took the chance and. Yeah, the results, I guess, is part of that.
Well, you had a really strong run here tonight. It doesn't lock you into the Championship 4, but it gets you a ton of points going into Nashville next week. Do you feel good about your chances over the next couple weeks, knowing that you've netted a lot of points here tonight and you've put yourself in really good shape going into the next two races?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the next few tracks are definitely going to be challenging with Daniel and Matthew being so strong, but we'll give it our all. We have already identified where to work on. So yeah, we'll give it everything. See what happens in a week's time.
Well, solid second place here tonight for you. Anyone you'd like to thank or shout out here before we let you guys go celebrate the Ball State 1-2?
Yeah, so my entire oval team, I got Andrew, Kelton, especially Lucas for really pushing me. He really pushed me throughout practice. Even today with all the practice that we did, he was really pushing me. I think part of the reason why I'm up here is probably because of him. So huge shout out to them. Also my road team, Kale and Bradley, for their continuous effort. Our BK and Dan, so our assistant directors and directors respectively. Dean Turner, who's responsible for this program, and last but not least, my family back in Singapore. So Yep.
Alrighty. Well, congrats on the second place finish there. And we hope to see you again in the booth here real soon.
Thank you. See you guys.
So, alrighty. And that was our second place finisher, Armahal. Brings it home, second place for Ball State. Solid run for both of them. And that will bring us to our third place finisher here tonight. The first non-Ball State driver. It is the one of Matthew Morton from Ohio State University. Matt Morton, do you got us?
Yes, sir.
Well, third place finish for you. You were kind of bouncing inside that top 5 all day. It seemed like you had a lot of long run speed. That was a strangely difficult sentence to say. But ultimately, it brings you home on the podium, although probably not the step you were looking for. Talk to us about your race that you had here today.
Yeah, started P3, had a decent quali lap. Pretty happy with that considering skill and speed I've had at Darlington in the past in this car. Really haven't been able to figure it out with how the setup and track has changed over the past 2 years I've been on the service. So really just learning throughout the entire race. I was expecting it to fall off and get really loose throughout the race as the last time I raced here. Those were the conditions, but around lap 35, I noticed it was going to be a big right front saver. Luckily, I had a little bit of right front in the tank on the first run. But I mean, we settled into P3 basically throughout the entire first run there. And it was just going to be such a challenge to pass Alif. He was defending really well, parking the entry, the center, and getting that run off the exit. And that's basically impossible to pass at Darlington. So he really knew what he was doing there. It was frustrating because I knew I was faster there towards the end of the stints, but he was doing a good job of making sure I was having to use more of my equipment. And it also just set me back from Daniel. When I came in on the first pit stop there, he did a nice job overcutting me, making sure he didn't come in before me, having the fresh tires for that second stint. And I had to battle Leaf again through that second stint, and it just really just killed me. And I kind of had to accept my fate that I was never going to be able to have a fighting chance. And then that caution came out, and we were kind of back on equal footing. Was able to stay P2, and then had another caution. And on the last restart there, I thought it was going to be a good idea to stop waiting around and try to battle for the lead. And me and Nanny came together. It was really tough, a little bit frustrating in my position, just because, I mean, turn 1 and 2, it's not really a passing zone, but to get around Daniel here, he was super fast, and I knew I had to do something. So I was there on the exit, and I was just getting turned down on the apron, but that's just hard racing, and that's just unfortunate and frustrating from my standpoint. And then we were just on the back foot for the entire last run there, and really had nothing for a leaf there. Actually, me and Halterman got together in the closing laps there. Me and him talked over it after the race, and it was pretty unfortunate the way we came together. I kind of just let my frustration get to me and raced him too hard, and I wasn't giving him much room for error going into turn 1, and we just made contact. And that's certainly not the way I want to go about passing for a position at Darlington, but that's kind of the thought process I had to just get it done there. And ultimately, just the emotions throughout the last run kind of just took over and kind of made a pass I wasn't too happy about, because it wasn't as clean as I would like to do it, especially as against Clint. I know he's a really clean and fast racer, and I've had many good battles through him throughout my time in this league. So and brought it home P3. Had a nice points cushion because of the regular season championship, so can't complain about finishing third and carrying over those solid points into the last 2 races before the championship.
Yeah, lots of detail on how your race went, but just kind of looking forward. Are there any lessons you kind of took from tonight of how your team, your fellow playoff drivers race that you're going to take into next week's race?
Um, you know, I kind of have to be careful of what I say here because, you know, I had pretty hard racing here with Ball State with Leaf and Nanny, and that's just the hard racing you're gonna have for a championship spot on the line. And we had a unfortunate penalty call going against us at Bristol. And you know, it's just been a frustrating last 2 weeks. You know, I kind of just was on the tail end of how I raced Edward Sanchez last week, and kind of just it was just unfortunate to be in both perspectives of last week and this week. You know, maybe just the lesson is just to race a little bit harder. You know, have your elbows out a little bit more. Maybe I was a little too nice going into turn 1 and 2 battling for the lead, but I wanted to give Daniel as much respect, and I know turns 1 and 2 is super hard to keep it clean, so I don't really fault him for the incident we had in turn 2, but you know, kind of just the intensity of which I'm going to race. The next 2 races probably going to be increased just because of what's on the line, you know, but also just making sure to stay positive in the points.
Well, anyone you would like to thank or shout out here before we let you go on your way this evening, third place finish?
Like to shout out you guys in the booth. Awesome to go back and watch races. Glad we have a crew willing to do what they're doing to broadcast the league. It's awesome to be a part of a league like that. Shout out Alif and Nanny there for a good race. Super hard battling. Fun race there. Shout out to my family and friends supporting me for doing what I'm doing. And yeah, that's about it.
Alrighty, well, congrats on the podium, and I have no doubt we'll see you up here soon, but looking forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you guys. Go Bucks.
And that was third place finisher Matthew Morton, who brings it home P3. He was the points leader coming in. May not be the points leader leaving tonight, but still very much in control of his own destiny as he makes his way toward Nashville next week. And that brings us to the last driver we get to talk to here tonight, the alumni class winner and the driver of the 077 who will fourth place. It is UNC Charlotte's Clint Halterman. Clint, congrats on the alumni victory, although I'm sure in the playoff battle here you would have liked to try and snag a couple more of those.
Yeah, kind of was an interesting race. I tried the one stop while everyone else did the two. Not really sure how that would have worked out, to be honest. Probably would have. I think it'd been hard to beat the top three: Leaf and Nanny and Morton. I was trying to pace myself since I was doing 75 lap stints. I think my right front after the first stint was like 30 something percent. So I was just trying to take it easy there. I got lucky that I was at the first car lap down, so got the lucky dog. And then I think we had a short green flag run there, and then got a caution, which helped me. I was able to get tires, and then I was driving my way through the field, and then as soon as I got by Morton there, I was racing so hard to try and get by everybody. I had used my stuff up, even though I had that tire advantage. It just went away then because I was pushing so hard to try and make up as many spots as I could. Because the whole night I was trying to just be easy on my tires and stuff like that, but at that point late in the race, I wanted to get track position with how hard it is to pass here. So I mean I have mixed feelings. I think I would have finished fourth in almost every other scenario, but kind of sucks the way I got passed there. I mean, I talked to Morton. It's just Darlington, honestly. It's just hard to pass, but I know he said he was upset just in general last couple of races, and he was driving a little bit mad, but it kind of sucks being on the receiving end of something like that when I feel like we've just raced each other really clean throughout the entire series. So
Yeah. But still, just looking forward, we got a good position tonight P4, which sets you up good for getting some good points for making a championship run. Is there any sort of notes that you're going to take into Nashville next week to keep that good run going?
Um, yeah, I think just seeing how important saving tires was really. Nashville's, I think, not obviously completely different than Darlington, but the way you save tires is probably going to be very similar. Here, I imagine here in Nashville is going to be trying to save their right front, but just with how slow the mid corner speed is going to be at Nashville, it's going to be really important to keep that right front on it because you want to have the be able to drive off, and it's also going to be extremely hard to pass at Nashville as well. So, um, just kind of taking, learning to be patient. That was a lot of the first stint. Was just I was just pretty much riding there, and then at the end of the stint, I had saved the tires enough to where I was able to pass a couple of guys, and I was, I think, I don't know about the top three guys there, but at least I think my battle was for most of the night was for fourth. I think then at the end of that stint, I was pretty much one of the faster cars on the track than with the older tires. So just being more disciplined with saving the tires, and being patient and trying to keep your cool when you're faster than somebody, but you just can't. It's hard to pass. It's gonna be the same. It's pretty much gonna be the same thing at Nashville. Just the nature of these two tracks. And yeah, it's just more experience running around, guys. More experience running towards the front. But yeah, and I guess the most important takeaway is that got a solid result. I haven't actually been able to, I think, finish a Darlington race so far, running CIL. So it's um, nice to get a result at Darlington. I feel like I've had the pace, but it's nice that knowing maybe it's not the throwback scheme is up and running has been causing all the bad luck here at Darlington for me.
You got the monkey off your back here. Finally finished the CIL Darlington race and was able to fashion with the P4 and the alumni victory. Anyone you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go on your way here this evening?
Yeah, just shout out my friends and family. Shout out the guys at Orange Wheel Racing. Got some tips from them on strategy and stuff like that. And just shout out to y'all for once again putting on another great race.
Alrighty. Well, hey, thank you. And we hope to see you again in the booth real soon. Clint, congrats on the alumni win.
All right, thank you guys.
And that was Clint Halterman, our alumni winner tonight, finishing P4. Solid run for him. Solid run across the board for all of those guys. A lot of the playoff drivers had a really good run, as we saw just before the interviews here tonight. But John, any final thoughts on how we got a surprisingly clean race, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was expecting some chaos for a track that's so revered as one for being a car totaler. So only get 2 cautions, and both of which were ones that resulted in cars that could continue racing. Kelton Quick and Charles Wembley both got back out on track and continued running. So for a track like Darlington to have a very low attrition rate is impressive, and I think it bodes well for the rest of the playoffs and how hard these drivers are racing, not just in the playoffs but in the whole field to really make some good competition and give it their all to really put on that good show for us in the booth and the producer who'd been yelling in our ears and for y'all watching at home.
Yeah, I think everyone at home got a real treat tonight. Solid run here at Darlington, a lot of fun. A little bit of carnage here or there to spice it up toward the end, but overall, pretty fun race. And one of the things that stood out to me was just how well the playoff drivers ran. I mean, all of them, I think, finished in the top 13, 12, or 9 of the 10 on the lead lap. And the first 6 and 7 of the first 8, all playoff drivers. So it was really a war out there, and every point's really going to matter down the stretch here if they keep running each other that closely. I mean, Jason Wallet, who finished 13th here tonight, he's going to fall a good chunk back from the rest of the field. He didn't even have that bad of a run, but everyone else just performed so well that it's just going to be a matter of the points for 13th aren't going to match up to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 7th, or whatever the final total was, something like that. But still 2 races to go in the Flexware College Cup Series playoffs. The next one will be Monday, 9 p.m., coming to you live from the virtual Nashville Super Speedway. It is the Melody and the Noise 200, presented by the Familiar Strange. That will be April 1st, 8:30 p.m. is when the Ignition pre-race show will begin. 9 o'clock is when the green flag will drop on that one. But if you can't wait that long for more CIL action, we've got 2 more CIL races. First up on Wednesday, it will be the Formula C race. It is the Austrian Grand Prix from the Red Bull Ring, March 27th, starting at 8:45 Eastern Standard Time. And just after that, it is the Prototype Series, the Japanese Grand Prix from Fuji Speedway, March 28th at 8:45. Those hypercars are going to do battle there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Both of those series have been having a lot of fun. Rumor has it that rain is in the schedule at Fuji Speedway, so that'll be an interesting wrench in the plans here, I'm sure, for a lot of our drivers running those cars in the wet. Very different experience from running it on a dry track. Hopefully the weather will stay nice and dry. The Monday race at Nashville Super Speedway, but for everybody here at the CIL, and on behalf of producer Christian and co-commentator John Dingle, I've been Alex Gagnon saying thank you all so much for tuning in to tonight's presentation of the FlexWare College Cup Series, and we will see you next time.